Hello, my name is Andre. My mother told me I had a magnetic personality. I didn't believe her until I woke up and I had metal in my face. So, this is so incredibly humbling. I mean, as an artist, it's not only a very difficult job, but a very difficult personality to manage. And one of the most humbling experiences one can go through is being accepted. But the most rewarding thing that we can ever go through is when we finally accept ourselves. And this festival has been a prime amalgamation of both. So, with the utmost sincerity, I say thank you. Let's do this. Friedrich Nietzsche is the father of modern comedy. You see, he was telling a joke in hopes of bringing everyone together when he said God is dead. Because when you think about it, if dog is man's best friend, then God must be man's best imaginary friend. And if time dictates that dog gets killed off with Old Yeller compassion, then I'm pretty sure the only way to dethrone such a vengeful idea sitting on top of a cloud is by pointing it and laughing. But no one got his joke, so no one laughed. Not until George Carlin hit the stage, because every punchline he devised about mankind, all he ever had to do was hold a mirror towards the audience and they would point back and laugh in full agreement. Richard Pryor expanded on the idea. You see, he was made in God's image, a self-destructive, foul-mouthed train wreck with more ghosts in his head than punctured wounds from a crown of thorns. He once struck a match on stage after he nearly burned himself alive in a drug-fueled haze and called it Richard Pryor, running down the street. Gilda Radner was a wonderful woman, but the spotlight was a bear trap, and she was starving. Placed on dextrin diet pills at the age of 10, she embodied a lifelong identity crisis, once telling a reporter she had thrown up in every toilet in the Rockefeller Center, but famously laughed it off as she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and said, if it isn't one thing, it's another. When Nietzsche died, God said, Nietzsche's dead. And then they held hands and skipped away into the fading glow of the abyss. When Carlin kicked the bucket, he dropped the mirror. The audience kept laughing because the applause sign was still on, and they failed to realize that they were the trained dogs he was talking about. When Richard Pryor clutched his chest and fell to the floor for the final time, man's image had become so self-destructive, the heroes we created wouldn't even save us anymore. In fact, they gunned us down in darkened theaters filled with screams and the smell of gunpowder like sulfur from a match. Remember Batman? When Radner's cancer came out of remission, she didn't even have time to say a prayer. She was afraid of falling asleep, so the doctors sedated her, and like a princess in a dress, she slipped into a coma. Gene Wilder was by her side. The love of his life died, and his recent movies were a failure. If it isn't one thing, it's another. Nietzsche theorized that the world is an object in which you can either laugh or cry at. Comedians tell the same jokes, but they have no tears left. As individuals, they're insufferable, addicted, and so afraid of their own existence, blistered, burned victims, calloused turtle shells, all in one. But as soon as they hit the stage, they can inspire hope in such a twisted way by making us laugh at the cruelest and sadistic parts of our existence, and that's their job, to make sure that you're in on it too. That life's a joke. Death is the punchline. You have to laugh, because it's one thing we all have in common. The best thing about opening up, oh, there we go. There's the microphone. Hi. The best thing about opening up with a heavy piece is that it kind of just like sets everyone down, and then you can build yourself back up accordingly, as opposed to being like, I'm uplifting, I am funny, I'm a pineapple. I'm not doing that one. But this next piece is for a very special lady friend of mine. Dear Edith Piaf, the moment you were born in the doorway of some long-forgotten shop, your mother screamed in agony, while the pavement was the first thing to hold you. From that moment on, you were destined to live life like a Molotov cocktail served in a champagne bottle. Your spirit, the bull, your body, the china shop, blinded from conitis as a child and abandoned into the hands of your grandmother's brothel where the women sold their bodies in ways that made the devil wince. And as a lonely baby screaming from your cribs, the angels listened in but did nothing. As your voice, that beautiful, God's ways, that mysterious. Soon enough, you were 7 years old, and you had heard the girls calling out for a miracle many times before, but for the first time, you could finally see the heavily caked makeup of the velvet voices of the women who had raised you. It was a miracle under a godless roof, and you grew. A love for the downtrodden, the hurt, and the rejected, because that was the pain from whence you came, and you sang. For the lovers that were ripped from your arms, and for the ones that ripped the hearts right off your sleeve and ran away, you sang. On bitter days when Hitler invaded France, and on cold winter nights when lonesome bodies were left to go to bed alone, you sang. When there was nothing left for you or your country, you sang. Because you held out hope. Madame Piaf, how did you do it? I ask because I have a heart that's grown bark, carved with initials I can't erase. Kept awake from nightmares of a little boy locked inside of a bedroom with tin-foiled windows, a wet bed, and a heavy-handed shadow man awaiting to play patty cake with his belt. I've learned attachment issues with an obsessive mind, so I'm constantly writing I wish you were here postcards that have previously written apology letters bottled up as a mixed message inside and thrown into the rubble of every burning bridge I've left behind, and hopefully they can read the smoke. Madame Piaf, this is one of those nights when lightning strikes twice out of spite and I'm left withdrawing into the nervous alien wearing my skin. Madame Piaf, this is one of those nights where I'm trying to pick up the pieces like fall leaves kicked up with the bitter wind with hands so out of touch. Madame Piaf, this is one of those nights where you would have sang the loudest, where you would have damned those that doubted you and damned the demons that kept you doubting yourself, and with the force of 1,000 brass bells you would have sang, because you were a woman who was barely 5'1", and life never once took you into consideration, so you took the name of a sparrow because you understood the necessity of singing songs of love and hope in such a dark and twisted world. Madame Piaf, avec tout mon cœur je vous remercie, parce que t'es sans chant, mon Dieu. And on nights like this, it's nice to know that there's a little bird telling me to keep my chin up when I don't even know it's looking back at me in the mirror. So merci, Madame Piaf. You have taught me the lesson of what it truly means to never be alone so long as someone has a voice that we can listen to, and what it means to be that much more in developing our own. Merci, Madame Piaf. Merci. Ooh, you guys are great. This whole thing? Nah. So I suppose since it was mentioned in my biography that I'm a haiku enthusiast, I suppose I should say a couple. All right, we'll start off small and go big. Somewhat gay monkeys eating phallic bananas. By Curious George. Stalin hates fiber. It expels Trotskys in his Bolshevik movement. It's true. It's very true. Look at me, Ma. I've made it. I'm telling dirty jokes on a stage and people are laughing. All right, I've got one more haiku and then the final poem, and then I think you guys are truly in for one of the biggest experiences of this day. The magnitude of intelligence and life experiences that is about to come after me is outstanding. Please feel free to just leave your minds and hearts open, is the only thing I ask. Because their stories are so worthwhile listening to. I've been accused that I say I love you too much and too often too soon. I was told that I should not say that word, for it is sacred and cannot fall upon deaf ears, and I could not disagree more. The one thing I have always regretted in this life has not been any of the amount of foolish things that I have done, but the one thing I did not say. So when I finally told my best friend that I loved him, his lips were the same shade of blue as his casket. And it was at that moment that I realized that life is a lie with an F in it, and death is the only definite. This I understand. I understand that life will never once take me or anyone else into consideration, and only we have that power. And if that is the case, well then, none of us really know when we're going to go, but we know how to have fun while we're here. So if I should die tonight, do not bury me. For the last memory you'll have is of me being laid to rest, covered from all the dirt that will spill, from me no longer guarding the skeletons inside my closet instead. Have me cremated. Use my ashes to fill up fireworks so that everyone may gather on top of the highest hill and feel the breeze. Dance around like a kabuki clown while looking up into the sky as I say my final goodbye. If I should die tonight, open my safe. Don't worry, there's no fucking money in it. I'm a poet, god damn it. Let's be realistic. But what is in there is my birth certificate, my ID photograph, and other paper trail paraphernalia. I would love it if you could draw on them with snazzy names like Captain Obvious or even, well, why not, Faggoty Ann? Because I wear it really well. And after that, steal my identity. I'm dead, I'm not gonna need it. Grow a scraggly beard, wear a bad toupee so my ID photograph looks legit with you, then get a credit card, buy a car, and ride off into the random sunset with the road map fluttering behind your speeding wheels. But please, no matter where you go, do not go overboard. As there are people that I don't know, that you know, that love you more than you will ever know, and you do not need to destroy yourself to try and prove it to be true. Trust me on that one. And if you feel as though the car that you've bought in my name is now broken down on the side of the road and the tumbleweeds are gathering more momentum than you ever could, that's fine. We all feel lost sometimes. So place a globe somewhere as my memorial. Go to it whenever you feel the need for direction and spin it like a basketball until it falls on its axis. Maybe then I can teach you that direction is unnecessary. Most times all it takes is leaving your house and shaking your world upside down to find out where you really need to be. But no matter what you've said or done, never, ever diminish the beats of your own drum. Simply strengthen the presence in which you present them so that others may dance around freely and comfortably alongside you. See yourself as a free-wielding agent of the universe capable of many wonderful things, love being the greatest of which. Know that you are only bound by your doubts and expectations, so cut those shackles, babe, and set a course for high heaven, because that is where we belong. And know that I am not writing this just to hear myself talk later. I am writing this to refresh my memory on the delicate intricacies of a ladybug crawling up the dewy stem of a flower and how we are equally as fragile, how I am the sum of all of my experiences, but what defines me is not my past, but my heart, much like yours does too. So if I should die tonight, that's it. And I'm kind of okay with that. Naturally very afraid, but okay with it. Because if there's one thing this life has taught me is the valuable lesson of being loved in return, and that is what you guys have taught me. And the visceral experience of being able to share it is something so much more. So if I should die tonight, find a lover, grab their hand, and after you've ditched the car that you've bought in my name, run to the highest hill where there will be a jukebox. Place your quarter inside of it so you may listen to Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell serenade me as I get shot into the sky in a fireworks display. But before I go, here's a copy of my safe key and a thank you note for truly making this whole life thing one of the best things that I have ever been through.